Hello and welcome into Soul Fitting Guidance for our video today. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about how human design can help us return to ourselves. Got a missing nail. It's going to distract me a little bit. How we can use human design to return to ourselves, how we can use human design to get back to kind of a different presence and a different connection to our life force energy and to I think of it as like the juiciness of life and getting to the things that are really exciting about life and that can move us away from maybe some of the numbing or the scrolling or the complacency that we get into in life when we're just rolling with it. So there are a lot of different parts about human design that I look to when it comes to helping people tune back into themselves. So, like I've said in other videos, strategy, type, authority are going to be huge to come back to over and over again, right? When you know just those two things about yourself, because the type has the strategy built in. So if you know that you're a splenic projector, that alone is going to tell you, here's how your aura works, here's how you use that aura, and here's how you make decisions. And when you know those two things, you're starting to make decisions from yourself and your own inner authority versus what should I do? What do other people think I should do? Right? So like those are kind of the basics that we'll come back to over and over and over again with human design of how it can be helpful. But then there are other parts of human design that I feel like bring a depth to this work that help people really get connected to who they are and almost on like a returning to remembering kind of thing, right? A lot of times when people hear about their human design and then they hear about their purpose or they hear about certain gifts, they're like, yeah, like I know that about myself. That feels really true. I just didn't have words for it, or I didn't think about it as a gift. I didn't even think about how it could be used in my life or how I already use it. And so it can be really powerful when we get into those nitty gritty details about, hey, here's what you're really here to be in the energetic sense, right? Not connected to capitalism, not connected to like here's a career you're supposed to do because this is your energy, but much more of like when you are feeling aligned with who you are in an energetic sense, you bring that purpose of who you are to every single thing you do, into every group, into every conversation. Like it just emanates off of you of like, this is who you are. And that can be really powerful. Like I said, in the remembering who you are and coming back to yourself. And I work with a lot of people, right? A big part of my work is breaking patterns. It's trauma healing. It's these spaces of shit has happened. And usually what comes with that is shame and negative beliefs, right? In order to get through that thing, in order to survive that thing, people take on these beliefs about themselves as truth. And then in the work of healing, we're starting to remove those negative beliefs, right? We're like, okay, this isn't actually true about you. Then people are sometimes like, well, what is true about me then? Like, I have built my whole life on these beliefs being true about me. And I have, put things in the shadow for people to not see, things that I never want people to believe about me or perceive about me. Like I tucked those away. And I believe these negative things. And maybe I use these negative beliefs to try to motivate me. And I felt a lot of shame. So, here's how I tried to navigate life with this shame. I've built relationships based on shame, right? I never felt good enough, so I accepted subpar treatment, right? Like there's a lot of different ways it shows up. But basically when we're healing and we're taking away those negative beliefs and we're moving them to neutral or positive beliefs, a lot of times people are like, I don't know who I am. Like, I don't know what's left, we could say. Like when we take away that. And I see human design as like a helping people rebuild the foundation, but really it's the design under there the whole time, right? It's like that design was there, our human design is there, but we get pulled so far away from it that we don't even realize that there's like this sturdy foundation under there. And that no one actually can mess with our sturdy foundation. That part is complicated too, right? Like if you grow up in an abusive household or you grow up with a lot of chaos and you grow up with a lot of toxicity, it can feel like your foundation is messed with or is you're like forever screwed. And that's not necessarily true. It's like we need to find our way back to the you who has always been there. And sometimes by finding our way back, we're having to kind of get back into like almost like our animal selves and get back into a rewilding of ourselves. If you've ever read the book Women Who Run with Wolves, I take a lot of inspiration from her work, the author's work. And her name is Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Soul Food and Guidance is actually inspired by her work of finding our soul footing again, right? Like finding this deep connection to who we are. And she talks about that need to rewild back to our intuition and back to our instincts and back to these grounded selves. And in order to get back to our grounded selves, we have to learn how to be with ourselves. We have to learn how to be with discomfort. We have to somatically release all the stuck things about who we thought we were and who we were told we were. And that kind of moves us into, human design is our starting point in this work, right? Human design gives us a blueprint, kind of an energetic cheat sheet of some goals and strengths and also some call outs of like, hey, here's your shadow stuff, or here's your core wound. Here's some things you're probably going to want to look at. And each time you look at it and each time you allow yourself to be with it and contemplate it and let it move, you're probably going to have an internal expansion, up level, awakening of some kind. It's most of the time when we're afraid of looking at it and we're afraid of getting in contact with our like wild, rough nature, that those things actually do pull us away from our life force and pull us away from what we even want. It's really easy to get stuck in constraints and social pressures and social constructs and the things that pull us away, right? Like a lot of those things that I named are part of kind of how we even get into the shoulds and the things that pull us away, right? Family systems are a big part of that, of like, my parents said this and I'm parenting this way, and so I need you to believe X, Y, and Z, or I need you to believe a certain way about yourself. So in a lot of ways, it's like human design is the starting point, and then we are shedding and we are working to, kind of shed or move away those layers that no longer fit and that don't actually feel like they're serving us or feel that they're limiting us. And we're moving back into a place where we are our own authority. Like each person has authority over their own self and makes decisions based on their own wants and needs and what feels right to them. And, depending on each person's chart, we'd look at a different way of doing it. Like for me, I often use what feels right or not because I have a defined spleen. And so that really helps me ground in, like when I feel like something's off, trust it, listen, right? And sometimes that's like the energy of a store I no longer want to be in. And trusting it because it's getting back into this animal part of myself that's like, something's off, let's go. Do I need to know what is off? No, because if I spend time to think about what's off, then I'm just having to stay in this place longer that doesn't feel right. So there are a lot of practices that we do based on your chart, right? Based on what are we seeing? What centers do you have open? Which ones do you have defined? What gifts do you have? Meaning what gates do you have? What channels do you have? Spending a lot of time with purpose and like what are the shadows of the purpose? So there are a lot of things we can learn about the chart There are a lot of things we can learn about coming back to ourselves. And learning how to get present is a really, really big part of that. Because a lot of the things of like learning how to listen to our design and learning how to work with it come back to every single of the 8 authorities in human design comes from your body, right? We can only get the information from listening to the body. There's one authority in particular that's a little bit more thought-based, right? People with mental environmental authority who are projectors do tend to think a little bit more about decisions, but then they bring that decision that they're thinking about in their mind back into their body to decide. So all of them require presence, and decisions are at such a base important level for this work that we're doing, because the little decisions connect to the big decisions, right? Like generators, for example, have a magnetic aura that the more they respond to the things they love and that are exciting and that they want, they're brought in. It's almost like the universe is like, okay, you're getting back to yourself. You're listening to yourself. And there's a magnetic element of, they see something that sparks something, an idea, just because they decided to walk down the street when they wanted to walk down the street, and then bam. Or they wanted to go to a cafe and then they ran into someone that they haven't seen in years and they spark a conversation and ask about how this person's doing, and then they're all hanging out, and sometimes it's just being in a place where you overhear the right conversation, or sometimes it's just being in a place and then, looking out at a view and having immense gratitude in a moment. So it doesn't have to be these grand scale things. And often it's tuning back into moment to moment awareness, moment to moment decisions actually tend to move us towards more satisfaction in life, or for manifestors, more peace, or for projectors, more success, right? So just by being able to make these decisions and learn how to use them in a day, like for example, for generators, if it creates more satisfaction, well, what happens when they feel more satisfaction in life? What happens to their decisions? What happens to what they feel like they deserve or don't deserve? So we can see how it really starts to stack up on itself, but it all comes back to, it can be as insignificant in quotes as, I love this shirt, I'm going to wear it. Or I don't really feel like drinking my coffee like I planned today. I want to go out and get something. I'm going to go to this place. I heard about this place. I want to go there. Right? It's like that can feel so insignificant. But what we're coming back to with human design is like those are the significant moments. And actually getting back to ourselves doesn't have to be as complicated as it can feel. Yes, there's totally room to do deep shadow work and, generational healing and these things that I love doing with people. We get to decide, though, like how deep we want to take the work. Like if someone just learning about their strategy and authority and they're like, I'm good, that to me is like a huge win, because that alone is going to be, it's connected to setting boundaries, and it's connected to resting, and it's connected to not being in rooms they don't want to be in. And the more that happens, the less burnout happens. And the less burnout that happens, the more wonderful relationships can be. Or, where they maybe make a decision about where they want to work and taking a bit more of a leap because they feel more life satisfaction in other ways. So they believe something's a little more possible than they used to. All this to say, the coming back to the moment, learning how to do that, right? Somatic work can help us do that. Grounding into our human designs can do that. There's a lot of different entry points to it. And then you have free will. You get to decide, like, how deep do I want to go with it? For me, I really love diving into my shadow. I really love kind of hanging out in the underworld a little bit and helping people do the same, because I found just such a huge amount of expansion. And I think that's the cool thing about shadow work is it's you can come back to the same shadow over and over again and meet yourself in a new way. Like if you use the gene keys, right? It's all about the art of contemplation. And you're getting to use your mind to contemplate the shadow, and then you ground it in to your body and what that actually feels like, and kind of work with ourself, inner child work, whatever that looks like. And so for me, that's where I find a lot of expansion and growth is allowing myself to look at those, what used to be hard parts to look at, and now are like, yeah. Like I was just talking to a friend about this. My conscious sun in human design is connected to agitate. The shadow is agitation. And the gift is initiate. And that is huge for me to know that agitation is the shadow, because I can really look back in time, but I can also look at like times where I get triggered by certain things. And because I'm aware of it and because it's this thing on my mind, it takes me now like 5 seconds to work with it, where before, that would be something I'd have to sit with quite a bit. Or, like I would maybe feel a lot of shame about getting agitated. Where now it's like, yeah, it's part of my design. And one belief in human design that I do really believe in is that we choose our design, and we choose our families who have their own designs already when we come in. And we usually choose families who are going to help our soul evolve and grow in whatever way, right? We don't necessarily choose the things that happen to us within our family system, but we choose who we are, right? We chose this gift and this construction of gifts and this way of working with our energy and this core wound. And then we are in a family system where we're going to have to keep excavating that, right? And in my family system, like agitation was going to get worked on, right? Of being the youngest child. And like, there are just things where I can see like, oh yeah, that is something I'm meant to work on and work through and help my soul evolve and expand from that place. So this is just kind of an inner look at the starting place, which is strategy, authority, practicing, learning how to work with your energy, and how deep and in it we can get, depending on where you want to go and what you want to focus on and what you find useful and helpful in your life. And part of doing this work is learning how to get present and is learning how to be with discomfort. Because when you can get present and learn how to be with discomfort, you can go anywhere in these things, and you can expand in all these directions. And a big part of my calling, or the thing that I want to help you with, is being able to be present so you can listen to yourself, so you can hear your authority. You can hear what you want, and you can hear what dreams are calling you and what life path is calling you. And learn how to be with discomfort so you can meet those edges, right? Like when we're going to up level in life, usually comes the really uncomfortable spots. Like everyone talks about dark night of the soul for a reason. That is a part of so many spiritual practices all over the world of we are going to face discomfort before we up level our patterns, up level our life, up level whatever it is, right? We are going to meet discomfort. So when we meet discomfort in like a surrender, release, bring it on. Okay, I know when I meet discomfort, that means something beautiful is going to happen. But discomfort of meeting yourself and touching your edges and touching fear and touching shame. Fear and shame being kind of the umbrella for a lot of these things that we're navigating. So this is the call to come back to yourself, to learn how to use your design as this truly like up-leveling to your unique path cheat code. I truly believe that. And we're going to keep going into it. So, in order to work with me, there are a couple different ways. You can get a reading if you're kind of wanting to just learn about your chart a little bit more and follow your curiosity with human design. I offer individual readings and then family child, couple readings, um, that kind of thing. And then I'm also doing one on one mentorship where we really use your chart as our starting point, and then we do some excavating of the shadows and we break patterns in real time using these things. That can also come with, whatever spiritual healing needs to happen as well, energy work, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's really exciting work, and I feel honored to walk alongside you. Like, that is, it's such a beautiful way that I also evolve and grow by getting to walk alongside people in this way. And it is something that I've done myself, right? Like, when I'm talking about learning how to be with discomfort, it's not like that's something that has always come easy to me. I think a lot of the times the things that we feel the most called to help people with are things that we've also moved through, right? So learning how to be present is also not something that came easy to me. I was a gymnast for a lot of my life, and a big part of my training was to dissociate me from my body. And um, I've it's taken me a long time, a long journey to get back to being present and learning how to do that. And so same with discomfort. And dark night of the soul, been there, right? Relationship evolution and growth and change and accepting things that were not okay, right? Like having to work through those things. So I feel really called to walk with people here. Um, so thank you for joining me. And as always, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me at my website, soulfittingguidance.com. And leave a comment. Let me know what's resonating with you. Um, I'd love to hear from you. And I will see you next time.